It's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational...
Oh boy. If you're not familiar with her, she is Colleen Hoover.
She was involved in every aspect of this production.
I came here today to say, as a man, that this is...
Colleen Hoover's Instagram was never just a personal page. It had become a vibrant hub for over 2 million fans who eagerly sought updates on her upcoming books, behind-the-scenes glimpses of her writing life, and raw, unfiltered moments that made them feel closer to the best-selling author. But then, without warning, the account went dark, leaving readers who had grown dependent on her recommendations, advice, and steady presence frantically refreshing their feeds, unsure whether it was a temporary glitch or a permanent disappearance. And as hours stretched into days with no explanation, speculation spread like wildfire, with some suggesting she was retreating from another wave of backlash, while others feared something more personal was happening. The timing particularly striking given the criticism she had recently endured for attempting to release a coloring book based on a novel dealing with sensitive issues like domestic violence, raising questions of whether her silence was a preemptive attempt to avoid controversy or a sign of something bigger lurking in the background. And this sudden absence only intensified the already blazing debate surrounding the highly anticipated film adaptation of It Ends With Us, leaving loyal fans unsettled and wondering whether the author they trusted had turned her back on them. After all, It Ends With Us wasn't just a best-selling book. It was a cultural moment praised for its raw and unflinching portrayal of abuse, survival, and healing, capturing the hearts of millions of readers, especially younger audiences who amplified its reach through platforms like TikTok, where passionate creators made the novel go viral. A surge in popularity so powerful that Hollywood soon took notice. And Justin Baldoni, actor and filmmaker best known for Jane the Virgin, emerged as one of its earliest champions, securing the adaptation rights with the promise of bringing its emotional truth to the screen. A move that thrilled fans who admired his reputation for telling heartfelt stories that challenged Hollywood norms. But just as momentum built, a shocking twist electrified the conversation when Blake Lively was announced as the female lead. Her A-list star power instantly generating excitement while also raising concerns among readers who feared that the intimacy and vulnerability of Hoover's story might be overshadowed by celebrity influence. And what had initially seemed like the perfect collaboration, a beloved book, a passionate director, and a major star, quickly turned into the backdrop for behind-the-scenes turmoil that no one had anticipated. Because while the novel had solidified Hoover's reputation as more than just a romance writer, elevating her into a cultural icon by addressing cycles of trauma with visceral honesty, whispers soon surfaced that the adaptation was straying from its original soul, with insiders claiming that Blake Lively was pushing for substantial rewrites that altered character arcs, softened darker themes, and minimized the rawness that had made the book so impactful, leaving Baldon frustrated as he watched the integrity of the story slipping away before his eyes. And those whispers evolved into a storm of rumors about heated arguments, clashes over creative control, and even personal tensions between cast and crew, igniting speculation about whether the adaptation was turning into just another glitzy Hollywood project fueled by star power rather than authentic storytelling. And as the drama escalated, attention turned back to Hoover herself, with fans questioning where she stood in this tug-of-war over her own creation since she had worked closely with Baldoni from the start, yet now appeared strangely silent. Even as more stories circulated that Lively's influence was growing, prompting some readers to suspect Hoover of turning a blind eye or even siding with Hollywood's priorities over the honesty that had made her writing resonate so deeply. Suspicions that only deepened when unverified claims emerged that Baldoni, increasingly exasperated, believed Lively hadn't even thoroughly read the novel, and was considering legal action to preserve the integrity of the adaptation. A move insiders said wasn't about money, but about protecting the heart of It Ends With Us from being diluted into a spectacle that prized star names over truth. And while no lawsuit ever surfaced, the very idea that the director, who had once been hailed as the champion of Hoover's story, might be preparing to fight his own star in court, underscored just how fractured the production had become, with fans left confused about where Hoover's loyalty lay. Some arguing she was staying silent to preserve professional relationships, while others accused her of selling out. And when she eventually appeared to side publicly with Lively rather than Baldoni, the backlash was swift and brutal. as readers who had once trusted Hoover's raw storytelling now felt betrayed, wondering if she had abandoned the honesty of her novel in exchange for Hollywood glitter, a suspicion that made her Instagram disappearance appear less like a mystery and more like the final piece of a controversy spiraling out of control, leaving fans torn between excitement for a film adaptation that could spark necessary conversations about love and abuse and fear that the very message that made it ends with us a phenomenal on might be lost in the ruthless machinery of celebrity-driven cinema. Rumors swirled as whispers of chaos behind the scenes grew louder, with some insiders claiming heated arguments had erupted over unapproved script changes while others hinted at personal tensions between the stars, fueled by gossip of flirtatious texts and off-camera confrontations spreading like wildfire across the internet. And as the drama escalated, fans were left in turmoil, questioning whether Blake Lively's A-list status was giving her free rein to control the adaptation or if Justin Baldoni's unwavering commitment to protect the novel's integrity was being bulldozed by Hollywood's obsession with celebrity, leaving Justin increasingly convinced that the soul of It Ends With Us was unraveling piece by piece, a fear that only intensified as observers wondered where Colleen Hoover stood in this tug-of-war over her own story. Since she had worked hand-in-hand with Baldoni from the beginning, yet now seemed strangely silent, her absence feeding uncertainty among fans who once trusted her insight. Many of them asking whether she was turning a blind eye to the chaos and how much longer the production could withstand the weight of swirling rumors before collapsing completely. Then, just as tension seemed unbearable, a bombshell exploded across gossip circles. Word spread that Baldoni, beyond furious with the film's direction, believed Blake had barely even skimmed the novel and was considering legal action. And while no official lawsuit was ever filed, the rumor mill roared to life with alleged leaked texts and emails suggesting she had hardly touched the source material. An idea so shocking it sent waves through both the literary community and Hollywood. Because Baldoni had always been seen as the loyal champion of Hoover's story, the one fighting to preserve its core message of love and resilience. So if he was now prepared to risk a lawsuit, people wondered what had pushed him that far. With industry insiders insisting his potential move had nothing to do with money, but with preserving the heart of It Ends With Us. His fight aimed at preventing the film from devolving into a hollow, glossy spectacle that valued budgets and big names over raw storytelling. And while he seemed determined to stand his ground, Colleen Hoover's name was suddenly dragged deeper into the controversy. Her silence magnifying the storm as observers noted that although she had trusted Justin from the beginning to honor her vision, it now appeared she might be siding with Blake, an actress whom critics accused of not even reading the novel carefully. And that suspicion alone left fans and critics alike wondering whether Colleen had sold out, trading the emotional truth that had made her book resonate with millions for the glitter of Hollywood. A suspicion only heightened by her sudden Instagram disappearance, which began to look less like coincidence and more like a calculated retreat as the scandal expanded, prompting questions of whether this was the final betrayal or if she still had a chance to salvage her novel from being swallowed by Hollywood's ruthless spotlight. At first, her loyalty seemed clear, as Baldoni had always been her steadfast champion, pledging to adapt It Ends With Us, with the same honesty that had made the novel so powerful. But then came the twist that shattered fan trust. Colleen publicly sided with Blake despite Baldoni's fierce objections that her influence was changing the story for the worse. And the backlash was swift and merciless as readers who once adored Colleen's sincerity now felt betrayed. Left to wonder whether she had truly aligned herself with a Hollywood starlet who barely understood the material or if her choice was merely a strategic attempt to ensure the film maintained the prestige and financial security of an A-list lead. A move that may have guaranteed box office appeal, but simultaneously fractured the very bond of authenticity and vulnerability that had once defined her work, leaving fans torn between defending their favorite author and fearing she had abandoned them in favor of Hollywood's dazzling but destructive promises.
So for anybody who hasn't read the book or seen the film already, tell our audience what it's about.
He alleges in his lawsuit against what many are calling Amber Heard 2.0.
Well, it's based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycle.
Colleen Hoover's sudden shift in allegiance only intensified the controversy as critics quickly dredged up her earlier misstep with the disastrous ends with U.S. coloring book and began questioning whether she had always been out of touch with the heavy, painful themes that made her work resonate so deeply with some, suggesting this latest move was just another sign of her disconnect. Fans scoured past interviews searching for clues about her true feelings toward Blake Lively's influence. Unsure whether Colleen genuinely supported Blake's approach or was simply caught in a Hollywood whirlwind she couldn't escape. And adding to the frustration, her silence on social media felt like a betrayal, leaving followers to wonder if she was prioritizing fame over integrity as her once trusted Instagram vanished without warning, sparking the burning question of whether the master of emotional storytelling had abandoned the soul of her own narrative in exchange for Hollywood's glittering promises, or whether something more complicated was unfolding behind the scenes, waiting to be revealed only after the cameras stopped rolling and the dust settled. The moment she deactivated Instagram, the rumor mill exploded, social media platforms erupted and hashtags like #TeamJustin, #TeamBlake and #Cancelin dominated Twitter and TikTok, signaling that the drama surrounding It Ends With Us had reached its boiling point, leaving fans who once felt intimately connected to Colleen suddenly adrift, wondering whether she had abandoned them at the very moment backlash was peaking and as theories spread like wildfire. Some argued her disappearance was a calculated PR strategy designed to distance herself from the chaos surrounding the film, while others insisted her silence was the final nail in the coffin of her credibility. Especially after she had publicly supported Blake despite allegations that the actress was reshaping the story beyond recognition, turning what was once hailed as Hoover's most raw and authentic work into a glitzy Hollywood product. And so the author, once celebrated as a voice of emotional honesty, now faced a storm of doubt, with even her most loyal readers questioning whether she had sold out, trading sincerity for the spotlight. What made the fanbase even more curious was the complete silence from Blake Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds. A figure known for his razor-sharp wit and constant ability to keep the internet buzzing. His refusal to comment on the controversy only poured gasoline on the fire as TikTok creators dug obsessively through every leaked text, alleged email, and behind-the-scenes whisper, piecing together theories with feverish intensity, and some even unearthed past Colleen Hoover interviews hinting at the delicate balance she would need to strike between her loyal readers and the merciless machinery of Hollywood, raising new questions. Was this the beginning of the end for her cherished connection with fans, or merely a temporary stumble in a complicated game of art versus commerce? As the online frenzy escalated, one truth grew clearer with every passing day: transforming a raw, emotional novel into a cinematic spectacle was not as simple as it seemed. And with each twist and turn, the drama pulled fans deeper into a storm that Hoover's silence only magnified, leaving a once united audience bitterly divided, unsure whether she could weather the backlash or whether her reputation had already been permanently fractured. And as the rumor mill spun into overdrive, social media platforms became a battlefield of speculation, with hashtags like #TeamJustin rallying support for Baldwin's fight to preserve the novel's soul and #TeamBlake amassing followers who believed her star power was the key to turning It Ends With Us into a blockbuster hit. While TikTok creators meticulously dissected every supposed leak and fan theorists debated how far the film had drifted from Hoover's original vision, leaving longtime readers torn between loyalty to her book and mounting frustration over her apparent endorsement of Hollywood-driven changes that felt like a betrayal. And complicating matters further was Reynolds' silence, a void that ordinarily would have been filled with his trademark humor, but instead became another mystery fueling endless threads and think pieces, deepening the sense that something was being concealed. Soon, what had begun as excitement for a faithful adaptation devolved into an all-out online war. Each post or rumor intensifying the chaos, and Colleen Hoover's credibility took its hardest hit when she appeared to align herself with Blake Lively instead of Justin Baldoni, the very director who had championed her story from day one. A choice that fans interpreted as trading authenticity for Hollywood's promises of fame and fortune. And the backlash was swift, brutal, and deeply personal, especially from readers who had connected to It Ends With Us because of its unflinching honesty about domestic violence, survival, and healing. A bond now threatened by what they perceived as Hoover's willingness to compromise the raw truth of her story for the glitter of stardom. And the betrayal stung even more given her earlier misstep with the infamous It Ends With Us coloring book, An ill-fated project that had already made many wonder whether she truly grasped the weight of the theme she had written about. And now with lawsuits rumored, script rewrites alleged, and Hollywood egos clashing in the public eye, Hoover's sudden decision to deactivate her Instagram seemed to speak volumes, interpreted by some as a badly needed mental health break, but by others as a calculated retreat from a storm she no longer knew how to navigate. And either way, the once untouchable author now stood on a precarious tightrope, trying desperately to satisfy the demands of a ruthless industry while holding on to the trust of readers who had elevated her into a cultural icon. A balance that looked increasingly impossible to maintain as the scandal grew. And the question echoing across Twitter, TikTok, and every corner of book fandom was the same. Could Colleen Hoover ever reclaim the authenticity that made her a sensation? Or had this firestorm left a permanent stain on her legacy because what began as a moving tale about survival, love, and breaking cycles of abuse had mutated into a cautionary spectacle of egos, script disputes, star-driven rewrites, and looming legal threats that seemed to have swallowed the novel's emotional heart in favor of controversy, leaving fans to wonder whether the most devastating ending of all might be the unraveling of the trust between Hoover and the audience that once adored her.
That she never even read the novel, and he's got text to prove it.
She was involved in every aspect of this production.
I came here today to say, as a man,
Her life and breaks them and ends the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope people find it.
The unfolding saga serves as a harsh reminder of Hollywood's relentless nature, where even the most profound and personal stories can be buried beneath the weight of star power, egos, and behind-the-scenes drama once those involved lose sight of the material's true heart. For Colleen Hoover, the fallout is impossible to ignore, as the authentic, empathetic bond she once shared with readers now feels fractured under the perception that she sold out her story's soul in exchange for A-list approval. While Justin Baldoni, in contrast, has emerged as the steadfast guardian of the novel's integrity, proving that not every director or producer is willing to sacrifice authenticity for the promise of a box office triumph. Yet the lesson for authors remains sobering. That when Hollywood's bright lights come calling, protecting the essence of a story can be just as vital, if not more so, than securing that coveted studio deal. Underneath the noise, the reality is even more painful. Because It Ends With Us was never just another romance novel, but a conversation starter, an unflinching exploration of domestic violence and the emotional traps that keep people locked in toxic cycles. Yet now those vital themes have been pushed aside, eclipsed by viral hashtags, leaked messages, and tabloid-fueled speculation, shifting the spotlight away from the courage of survival to the chaos of celebrity culture. And whether the final film manages to reclaim even a fraction of the book's original weight or remains forever overshadowed by the circus surrounding its production is a question that looms larger with every rumor. What has become undeniable is that in the world of Hollywood adaptations, clinging to the soul of a story is far easier said than done. And the ongoing controversy surrounding It Ends With Us has laid bare just how quickly a powerful narrative can be swallowed whole by scandal. As whispers of script rewrites, looming lawsuits, and the sudden disappearance of one of the world's most adored authors remind audiences that novel, no matter how beloved, is safe from the ruthless currents of the entertainment machine, leaving fans waiting on edge to see whether the final product will rise above the storm or collapse beneath its own weight. And the larger haunting question echoes across book clubs, social media feeds, and the very fandom that once elevated Hoover to icon status. When the credits roll and the dust finally settles, will It Ends With Us still carry the heart-wrenching honesty that made readers fall in love? Or will Hollywood have stripped away the very essence that transformed it into a cultural phenomenon, reducing it to yet another glittering spectacle?